Hello, hello. It's Bernadette. Welcome. And hello, happy Tuesday. I think I have the date right. My computer is on, and welcome to my new space. I'm going to do a quick update. And if you've been following my Facebook feed, especially my personal profile, which is where I've kind of been giving most of my updates because it's been the easiest for me. I spent the day in the ER yesterday. And while the ER doctors called what I had a UTI, my other doctor, my palliative care doctor, reviewed my tests and called me today. And there's some screw ups that have already happened. So I thought I'd give you an update because a lot of people are giving me recommendations for different treatments for a UTI. And I did call it a simple UTI because that's what they were referring to it as and what they've been treating for the last couple of weeks when it is not a UTI. Hi, Kelly Marie. So say hello if you are here. Again, I went back to the ER. I've been in the ER. They all know me there. They're like, you need a VIP card. Like, I don't want one. Thanks, you can keep it. One of the side effects of having chemotherapy, especially high dose chemo like I'm getting, is that you can get what's called hemorrhagic cystitis, which is bleeding, heavy bleeding, and it causes damage to your bladder, the chemo. They should have given me apparently a drug prior to the first chemo treatment called Mesna that blocks one of the chemo drugs. It binds it so that it doesn't do damage to your bladder and kidneys. And what I'm experiencing, if you've ever had a UTI, it's like the worst UTI in history is what it feels like, razor blades. Like I feel like I constantly have to pee. And I have lost so much blood in my urine for the last week since I was in the hospital and after chemo. My chemo treatment was last week on the 15th and 16th. And then I was discharged from the hospital on the 17th when they deemed me safe to go home. But immediately I had to go back for, or call them back, and they put me on cyclosporine or ciprofloxacin for a UTI when it was not, in fact, a UTI. So it is what's called hemorrhagic cystitis, and that can be permanent. So my doctor called me today and said, look, it's going to culture out, and I have a feeling it's going to culture out negative. I don't know why they told you that it was worse on your cultures from April till now, but it's not, because I reviewed all of your records. You said tomorrow we'll know for sure when the culture comes back. I need to call your oncologist and let them know someone forgot to give you the Mesna. And I'm like, that's a big forgot. Like permanent damage to my bladder. That's not okay. I do not want to live my life with razor blade pain every time I feel like I have to pee. Nor do I want to live my life feeling like I have to pee all the time and wearing diapers because I can't take the pain. And right now they have me on this weird numbing bladder spasm drug that turned the blood to orange, and it stains everything. Like it stains everything. It stains the toilet bowl, and I am wearing Depends, which is why it's on my registry. One of the last remaining things that will stay on my registry is Depends, because I was going through literally one diaper a day. I mean, every 20 minutes, which put me in the ER yesterday. And I sat there, had another flipping CAT scan, and went through more tests, only for them to find out today that it is hemorrhagic cystitis. And it's like interstitial cystitis. Someone on my feed said that they have that, and it's painful. I mean, but permanent is not okay with me. I know, Shelly, right? That is not okay. That's what my daughter said, is like, that's a huge miss. How did you not? That should have been one of the first drugs you gave me. I had to be on, before they even did the chemo, at 3:30 in the afternoon Wednesday. They did a huge amount of infusions and the pre-chemo drugs starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. So like I was getting infusions all day long before the chemo, and somebody missed it because one of the drugs that I'm on called, I'll tell you exactly what it is, because I have my treatment plan. One of the drugs I'm on that causes this is called cyclophosphamide. cyclophosphamide, and it's an IV. Well, cyclophosphamide causes the hemorrhagic cystitis. And there's a binder called Mesna they can give you that will keep it from damaging your bladder and your kidney walls. I know, I'm horrified that they didn't catch it. I mean, I have been in so much pain for days, and I felt like I'm just whining. But like, if any of you ladies I know, and men too, like, they had to do a CAT scan, make sure I did not have a kidney stone. They're like, you don't have a stone. I'm like, it feels like razor blades. Like, I was crying all night last night, because then they gave me a doxycycline shot. And while I didn't do anything side effect wise, while I was there on the way home, my stomach blew up with so much gas that would not pass until 3:00 this morning. My dad sat out with me until 3:00 last night. Because it was so bad. I was in so much pain and I couldn't stop bleeding. Like, there was so much blood for days. It's so shocking when you go pee and all you see is blood, right? I'm already anemic. They already have me on iron and every other dang thing. And they've given me iron infusions. So the fact that somebody missed it, or my oncologist did not add it to the regimen of treatment, and I don't know anything about chemo, so how am I going to know to ask for it? But my palliative doctor was calling her today to make damn sure that before my next cycle, which is on June 5th, that they get that med in me so that there's no more damage. Because I said, well, what do I do? And he said, unfortunately, there's no way to fix this. But we can prevent it from getting worse. Because sometimes they actually have to stop chemo in order to stop that. Because if you lose enough blood through your urine, they have to stop the chemo, right? And I don't necessarily want that either. Like, I'm in it now. Let's just get this shit done. So here's the positive news. Some of you may not know, but when I ended up in the ER on the 22nd of April, I had already been treating all of this naturally, thinking that it wasn't necessarily cancer. It was just a neoplasia, fast growing, yada, yada, yada. But I was doing everything that I would do if I had cancer, and none of it worked. All the natural stuff. Y'all know that have followed me for any number of years. I have treated every kind of cancer that I've had in the past and any other thing naturally. I know what I'm doing. It's not that I don't. And I really appreciate everybody's advice. But honestly, I'm not trying to like talk over people's heads. So I'm not going to put all of my diagnosis and all the stuff they're doing out there. And for people to be sending me these things on comments and they're like, take Demonos. I'm like, Demonos is not going to do this. Now, there is bacteria, and I am taking the Manuka honey. Someone bought me some Manuka honey, the high grade, really expensive stuff. I am taking that because there is some level of bacteria that matches what a UTI is. However, most of the pain and what's going on right now has to do with the damage they did from not giving me that med. Been worried about you. Not whining, it hurts. You have a good attitude, as can be expected. Yeah. So what some of you don't know is, prior to going to the hospital and being admitted, when they did all the tests and found the lymphoma and all of that, and then being readmitted for the chemo stuff, because I was already having UTI and bleeding, whatever. I was only able to eat up until 4 days ago. I've only been able to eat 2 tablespoons of food for an entire day, like an entire day. 2 tablespoons of food for me was so much, because my stomach has been so huge and so blown up. The lymphoma, while it's not all in my colon, there's only a small area where there is a tumor inside of my colon, my ascending colon and transverse colon. The bigger part of it covers what's called the intra-abdominal. So it's not inside my intestines, but it's covering my intestines. And a large portion, like 80% of my abdomen, is covered in cancer. So the swelling from that over the top of my intestines, over the top of my stomach, and there is a small tumor behind my stomach, although they haven't done any biopsy and any of that on that. I don't want them to. Like, no more biopsies. That crap hurts. But there was no room for food. So until 4 days ago, it was 2 tablespoons of food a day. And I was weak. I mean, I've lost so much weight. And I am up to, proudly, I am up to a small meal 3 times a day, like a full, my dad made me, and some of you are going to freak on this, but I need to gain some weight. So my doctor's like, eat whatever you want right now. My dad made me sourdough French toast, some sausage, and what else did I have? Half a banana. That was my breakfast the other day. And it's been my breakfast kind of, I think, almost every day except for today. A small salad for lunch. And when I say small, I'm talking maybe half a cup of salad, and then some sort of protein, trying to get as much protein in me because my protein levels have tanked. But the fact that I can eat 3 times a day right now and like an actual more than 2 tablespoons of food is glorious. Yesterday, there was no eating. Yesterday, it hurt so bad and I was bleeding so much. There's just no way. Hi, Darlene. With their huge miss, it's important you stay on top of how you're responding. Self-care is still crucial. Absolutely. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm poo-pooing your suggestions when you're putting them up in the comments for things like Demonos and stuff, but please understand, like if I thought Demonos was going to help with this stuff, trust me, I would have done it a long time ago. Nothing has worked because it wasn't, in fact, it's not a true UTI. It's damage. I mean, they damaged my bladder lining from the chemo. Chemo's harsh. It's toxic. It's a chemical. I mean, but it's killing the cancer. And I've opted to go this route. A lot of people, I was talking to one of my clients today who finally, after a year, read my book. And she's like, how are you handling all of it? And I'm like, well, the biggest challenge for me was having to shift through a belief that I was very adamant I would never get chemo and I would never get radiation, and to do it publicly, because I've written about it in my book, to do it publicly and have to flip a belief, a big one, conviction even, and go this route. It's huge for me. But sometimes you have to be willing to change your mind on things. And for the sake of my family, for the sake of preserving my life and not having any other options, I have no choice. Like my back is up against a wall on this one. And I've prayed about it. People have asked me, have you meditated? Have you? Absolutely. I asked Spirit, am I going to have to do this chemo? Is there any other way? And I've prayed every night. This has been going on for a year. I've prayed and prayed, heal me, help me, show me. I have, equipment sitting behind me that is rife equipment, scalar and plasma. To kill it wasn't working. Like, it's just that aggressive. So when I prayed and I kept getting, you do need to do the chemo, don't worry, you'll come through this, okay? I'm like, okay, it's not feeling so great right now, right? Like dying here and I'm peeing blood. And feeling crazy, right? I've talked to several people who've said day 3 of chemo is the worst. And I didn't really read a whole lot of what to expect because they say you can't predict from one person to the next how their body's going to respond to chemo. I've read some of the side effects. Obviously, everyone knows there's hair loss, there's weight loss, there's nausea, there's vomiting, there's all the things. I've had a little bit of nausea. Thankfully, no vomiting, because I hate that. I hate vomiting. Is the worst. Having an eating disorder for a big portion of my life, like the worst thing is vomiting to me, which I have not done yet. But it's been rough, and all these things keep cropping up, and they keep sending me back to the ER, and then the ER have to go through the whole thing again and the same test. I've had 4 CAT scans, 4 in the last couple of weeks. It's been insane. And they're not, nothing's changed on the CAT scan. I'm like, then you're doing the wrong tests, people. Like, whatever. I'm glad that my palliative care doctor caught it today. Tomorrow I will know, we'll do another change of drugs. I've changed prescriptions now 3 times in the last 4 days, 5 days. They keep changing my regimen. And then I see my oncologist on Friday. But like I told you guys I guess it was last week, I got insurance. I found a primary today So I have an appointment with them the Monday before chemo, the 3rd, because my insurance kicks in on the 1st. And I have my PET scan next Wednesday. And then my second round of chemo is on the 3rd. As far as I know, as long as my labs come back okay on the 3rd, I have my second round of chemo starting on the 5th, and then I get 21 days off. But you don't really count 5 days of that 21 because you're sicker than a dog. I've seemed to have been able to figure out my schedule now so that everything is scheduled around not having that 3rd day of chemo be a day where I talk to anybody. 3rd and 4th day are pretty harsh. So I am okay. I want everyone to know this is was supposed to be my office. We're still trying to find a name for it. The healing spa, the Sarvatva spa, the pool house. Because whenever I said shed, like they asked me at the hospital, where are you staying? And I said, in the shed. The doctor's like, you're staying in a shed? I was like, well, to stay away from the rest of the family so everybody can kind of do their summer thing. And I don't have an immune system, so I can stay safe. And it just sounds raunchy, right? Like you don't think shed, this nice space with a glass door and 2 windows. And, it's a very nice space in here. And it was supposed to be my healing space for other people. Well, it's my healing space for me now and will be for the next 6 months. I appreciate, Allie, all of your prayers. And I really do want to say thank you to all of you. I wish I could reach out to you all personally and thank you for the donations, for sharing the fundraiser. We had raised, I think, $4,300 of the $20,000 that we initially put up for the fundraiser. It is gone as of today. I had to pay all the doctor bills so that I can get my follow-ups done. And so those doctor bills have been paid, and the funds from the initial fundraising is gone. As far as the alternative oncologist, I did talk to them via text today. The doctor is reviewing my medical files, my treatment plan, my chemo plan, and all of my current conditions that have come about since starting treatment. My oncologist, my medical oncologist, has agreed to let me do off-label and complementary oncology so that I can recover and bounce back faster. She just said you cannot do it the week of chemo. You can't do it before chemo, and you cannot do it for 5 days after chemo. The rest of the time of those 21 days, fine. But those other days, don't mess with the chemo. And then once I'm done with chemo altogether, then I will boost that one up. And what that includes is like high dose vitamin C, which will raise my immune system. I can't have that right now, which is why I'm on prednisone and I look like Professor Clump in my feed. And it's ozone, and it's hyperbaric chamber, and it's off-label drugs to address the lymphoma and the other stuff. So I know that I'm going to bounce pretty quick compared to some people. But the biggest fear when you get treated for cancer the first time with chemo is that it's going to come back. And it will always come back with a vengeance if you don't take care of your immune system and you don't really like bust up. And my dad moved all my equipment into tonight. So tonight I'm going to set up my computer, my Rife machine, start doing treatments again. It was too painful to do it before. I'm going to try tonight, at least from the standpoint of reversing the effects of the missing drug that did the damage to my bladder. So the healing she shed, I don't know, like Sarvatva healing is the name of my healing modality, which means totality, completion, right? Healing in Sanskrit. So we're calling it the Sarvatva spa right now. But it's just, it's such a weird thing because this is my bedroom now. Like I have a medical bed over to one side. I have when I can't lay in the bed, which is actually pretty comfortable. When I can't lay in that bed, I can sit in my recliner and watch television. I've been watching a lot of Heartland episodes. And now my desk is in here with my computer, so I don't have to climb the stairs anymore. I don't have to go upstairs at all, which has gotten very difficult and hard for my breathing and just not safe because I do get pretty dizzy. But I am okay. And I want you guys to know that. And I also want you to know, like, I know some of you are going through similar battles. A bunch of people have reached out to me and have told me that they're undergoing chemo radiation. They've got cancer. I've met so many people lately with cancer. It's just disturbing to me. Hi, Sonia. I am hanging in there. Yeah, I am. But it's disturbing to me that cancer numbers have gone up, and cancer numbers have doubled since COVID. So I know that part of whatever is in that virus, man-made, is doing some serious damage, and we have to be able to combat that too. So I'm looking at doing things just Bernadette's way, even though it is traditional medicine. So I want to address that as well. People have asked me if I'm still doing Charm Life. Absolutely. Charm Life is so easy for me because I've done it for a number of years, and channeling spirit always makes me feel better. I've still got Hidden Wisdom running. And the only difference right now is I'm not taking on new one-on-one private clients. I have a host of private clients. I'm just not taking on new ones. And I'm not doing a whole lot of biomagnetism therapy. Pretty soon I will be offering sessions on my machines, on the Rife and Scalar and my Central. I will be. But right now, until I can get my health stuff in order and I'm on a flow, kind of things are flowing, which they have not yet. I'm just not taking that on. I'm tired, like super tired. And that's been, there's hours that I'll be okay. And then there's hours I'm flat out and I just can't focus. One of the other things that happens weirdly with all the drugs I'm on for the chemo and whatnot is my ears keep plugging. And it's like being inside a tunnel constantly. So it's hard to kind of, rate how I sound. My voice definitely does sound weaker than normal. I know that. But my attitude's good. And I think that's the most important thing is if we're going to take on a challenge like this in our lives, we have to do it with intention, and my intention is to get through this the best possible way that I can, with the best possible attitude and the most amount of faith that I can muster. And when I don't have the strength to hold the faith, I have so many of you around me, and I'm so grateful for it, that are just sitting there going, I'm praying for you. There's some things I don't want to hear right now. Like, I don't want to hear you've got this. Like, I know I got this. That doesn't help when I'm freaking bleeding and I'm in pain. Like, you got this. It's like, I don't want to have to get this. Like, you don't get it. I don't want to hear stuff like that. Right? I know I got this. We all got this. But a better way of saying it, and this isn't for you guys to me, this is for the rest of your lives out there, people that are suffering and going through different things. No one that's going through something wants to hear you're strong. You can do this. Yeah. Okay. I'm strong. I can do this. I don't want to have to do this. And I'm a little upset that I have to do this. I'm not pissed off, but it's that place of like, I would rather hear, I've got your back. I'm praying for you. I'm sending you strength. I'm sending you positive thoughts and healing intentions, rather than you've got this. Stay strong. Of course, I'm going to stay as strong as I possibly can, but it's not helpful to hear that, right? It's just not helpful to hear that when you're in it. You're like, just shut up. There's been so many times over the last couple of weeks where I'm like, man, am I losing my spiritual edge? Because with the steroids, your emotions just go off. Like, you can't control your emotions, and you plummet, right? On top of the swelling, to have my legs and my feet swell 3 times the normal size. And it's so uncomfortable just to sit. It's just horrible. They have me on these one water pills that aren't working, but it's just ridiculous, right? To sit there and have people just keep going, you got this, I'm like, shut up, just shut up. I don't want to. I want this to be over. And I'm right at the beginning of this 6-month journey. I appreciate that. I think people may not know what to say, so it helps you to let us know. I think it's important for us to all learn the language of holding space. If there's one thing that, if I can if I can master it for myself and just going through it, knowing specifically when you're in it, because it's different when you're on this side of it, right? And I'm well aware of that. So I'm not holding anything against anybody, but we always want to say something encouraging. We do. We want to love on the people that we care about and we're rooting for. We do. It feels different and it sounds different when you're on the receiving end of it because you're the one having to go through it. So on a personal level, when I went through stuff before, I didn't broadcast it as I was going through it when I was treating myself naturally for cancer. But B, I really, no one really knew what I was going through. I am publicly sharing this for a number of reasons. Spirit has put it on my heart to share this journey. Whether I do it falling apart with tears some days and, another trip to the ER and holy crap or whatever, like I am sharing it because that's what they've asked me to do. And I know there's more reasons than I can even understand right now for me to do so. But a big part of it is like everything else, to take some of the sting of scariness. If you've never had to go through chemo treatment, you don't know what to expect. You really don't know horrific things like, and you're afraid of dying, but you're afraid of not dying too when you get so sick. I was talking to the lady who took me for my CAT scan yesterday who had breast cancer 18 months ago. I said, how'd you do? And she said, second round, I wanted to quit. My husband kept saying, you can't quit. And I just kept telling him, you're not the one that has to go through it. And that's what I'm telling you, being on this side of it, like, people you care about are going to tell you, you have to do this. You have to be around. I love you. I care about you. You've got to live. You've got to fight. People keep telling me that. And I'm like, but here's reality. I don't. I'm 57. I don't have to fight. I don't have to go through this. I don't have to put my body through this. There are other ways out of this. And I said, how'd you do it then? And she said, it hurt me more to see him be terrified of me not going through it than to go through it. And she said, and I had to have wound vac because when they did her double mastectomy, something got screwed up, yada, yada. But her husband, she would yell back at him and say, F you. Tell me I have to. I don't have to. I'm doing it for you. And that's the one thing as a patient, I want you guys to understand, if you have family members going through it and having to do this, a lot of times you just don't want to. You want to say, time out, I quit. Like, I'm not going to keep doing this to myself. And I know for people who've gone through several rounds of chemo, like several cycles, and it's not working until they tell you no more chemo, it's not working. Like, you want to quit, but no one around you will let you quit. And I have nowhere to speak because this is for round one, right? Like, I have nowhere to speak and no right to say it compared to some people. But you got to understand the mindset. And so to hold that sacred space for people and understand they can't always be positive. They can't always think it's all going to work, right? They don't want to hear, we don't want to hear you're strong enough, you got this. We're all strong enough for a lot of things. It doesn't mean we want to have to experience them. We're all strong enough to deal with the loss of our closest relatives. None of us want to have to go through it, right? None of us want to hear it either when we do go through it. Like, there's so many things that I think we do want to be supportive, but we forget. And so when you're on this side of it, it's like you start to really get it. And I'm really understanding. And part of what I've been writing about a lot in my journal is just adjusting the language and sharing with the people in my life that are personal. Like, this is what I don't want to hear from you. And I'm getting angry, allowing myself the space to get angry because people feel like they have to say something when sometimes it's better to say nothing. Sometimes it's better to say, I don't know what to say to make this better. I can't make this better. Like, be honest, but don't just fluff me up and tell me all is well. Like, it's all going to be okay, because it's not all going to be okay. And anyone that says that is stupid to believe it's all going to be okay. Okay to me is no pain. Okay to me is I'm not bleeding every time I pee. Okay to me is I can eat without having my stomach blow up. Like, so when people are like, it's all going to be okay, it's like, according to who? Whose standards and whose measurement stick? Is it all going to be okay? And so we have to like slow down enough, right, to hear what we're saying and to see how it's being received. And if your loved ones blow up on you and say, don't tell me that, listen to what they're saying, because they're basically telling you the language you're using is not supportive to me. The language you're using is actually more hurtful to me than, saying nothing. Sometimes saying nothing's more powerful. Just holding space, just being with them. Marianne Max saying, I learned that language from you. Good. Only you know what you're feeling. No one can tell you how you should feel 1 minute at a time. And I mean, God, Carla, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you're a caretaker for someone who's got some massive issues. It's so hard. The other part of this, like, my dad would not go in last night. He would not go in the house. He sat in my recliner, and I was in so much pain. And I was like, please just go to bed. I don't need to feel guilty on top of all of this. Like, please just go to bed, And he's like, no. And I'm like, Dad, I seriously already feel like crap. And he's like, you're not going to get me to go to bed. So I finally gave up on it. And then I was able to get a little bit of sleep. And then I broke the fever last night. And finally, I just sat up in bed and said, I'm not going to lay down now unless you go, but go lay down. It's like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, go to bed. And he did finally. But it's hard that way too, because I know the burden that I'm placing on my family. I'm watching Brindy go through just struggling to keep up schedules to run me to doctor's appointment and help out when my dad can't. They feel like someone has to be with me all the time. I don't think that that's necessary, but they feel like it's necessary. So I'm just giving into it and feeling like a little kid, which is another weird, like, having my freedom removed. I cannot drive, so it sucks. Like, I was able to park my car yesterday because we took my car to the doctor or to the ER, but I was allowed to park my car, not drive my car. It's like suddenly I can't drive. Suddenly I can't take myself anywhere. I can't just run to the store. I can't just go down the street. I literally am not allowed to do anything. I don't know if you guys can see this. I have a PICC line in my arm. This is how they deliver my chemo. Let's see if you can see that. And I finally got a sleeve for it because it's just been dangling like that. And they keep saying, don't pull your PICC line accidentally. So I finally bought a sleeve for it. And I have to keep it covered and dry if I shower. So I finally found something that would work on Amazon called Blocks. And it came today so that I can take a shower and not get it wet, because you're not allowed to get any part of your PICC line wet. They'll have to replace it. And that PICC line's a pain in the butt. They had to place it with an ultrasound, kind of surgically, to get it all the way to my heart. So there's little things that you're not prepared for, like stupid things, just stupid things. I can't just get in a bath without wrapping my arm up and making sure it's not going to get wet. And last night, all I wanted to do was sit in the hot tub. I can't sit in the hot tub right now because my skin is scarring for some strange reason. I got a rash and everything on my skin is scarring. I've got scars now. If you guys can see that. They scarred my veins because my veins kept blowing out every time they put an IV in. And there was one day where they had 3 people, 9 tries, and I finally called and said, you call the doctor right now and you tell them I'm not letting you poke me. Put it through the PICC line. They didn't want to use the PICC line for anything but the chemo. And I'm like, I don't care. Take the blood out that way, put your drugs in that way. But my veins are flat out telling you no more. Like, they could not get a vein. And now I have scarring all up and down my arms. And it looks like I've shot up because everywhere you look, they tried and my veins weren't cooperating. But again, it's one of those things where I had to put my foot down and say, no more. Like, no, call the doctor, call the oncologist. I don't care who you call the president of the United States. You're not taking it through those veins. Take it through the PICC line. And someone got permission, and the rest of the time they've done it through the PICC line, except for yesterday at the ER. But they were able to get my veins after like 3 days rest. Get my veins to give up some blood. A nurse told me. that the angry, non-compliant patients, me, are the ones that survive. And it's the truth. That lady that worked in the hospital that took me to my CAT scan yesterday, she said no to a couple of the things they tried to do to her too. And she stopped one of the treatments that they were doing to her. And she said, if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. Like, if there's one thing that I hope comes out of me documenting my journey live like this for anyone and everyone, is you need to be your own advocate. Like, just because it's their standard protocol does not mean it's the best thing for you, period. I've already made it plain as day. They're not going to do a bone marrow biopsy. My doctor wants one done. And at this point, the answer is absolutely not. You're not doing it. I'm not having any more biopsies. After the 2 biopsies they did, it took me 2 weeks to get better from and recover from, and to do a bone marrow biopsy at this point in the game when I have no immune system, you're asking for trouble. Like, you're asking for an infection. So the answer is no. And I could go along with it. And she really wants one. I'm like, too bad. It's not going to happen. You'll have to wait for your damn biopsies for later. But at that point, there's no reason for them to have to do it. And I know from the standpoint of them wanting to be sure that they're sure where it started, it doesn't freaking matter. Treat the cancer, get rid of it. Let's call it good. The goal is put me into remission, put me in remission. The goal is not to run as many science lab tests you can to put me in pain. So you have to be willing to say to your doctor, no. And I've had to do a bunch of research on my own, which is very difficult when you have chemo brain, because things aren't making sense to me as quickly as they normally would. I've had to read things 3 and 4 times when normally I can read something and it makes sense. And it's just, things are taking a very long time to make sense. Balancing my checkbook has taken me 2 weeks. Because it's been insane just trying to get everything done. And when my brain wants to go down the path of worrying about the future, I have to remember, and this is true for all of us, but this is so true for me right now. Like, what future? You have today. Nothing is guaranteed, girlfriend. So make the most of what you got today and forget about everything else. You can't pay your bills next month. You can't pay your bills. You're not going to worry about that right now. Right now, you're going to worry about get the food in you, get the rest in you, get your body stable. That's what you're going to worry about, right? Love the people around me. Spending a ton of time with my family as much as I possibly can, and as much as like their energy will allow to. This is very difficult on them, and I know I've heard from a few of you that are my close friends, and my dad has said it. So many people have said to me, I feel so helpless watching you go through this. And it sucks and it hurts me knowing that y'all feel helpless. I feel helpless, right? But I would rather feel the pain of something than somebody else. So it's really hard on me knowing, like, because I watch my dad, he cries and he's like, I want, now I'm going to cry. Hi, Yvette. My dad's been putting off some medical procedures for himself. Not that they're needed. They just want to switch up medications and stuff. We came in here today and he said, I told my doctor no on the new medications. I told my doctor no, they're not going to make it so that I can't take care of the things I need to take care of. And I finally told them my daughter has cancer and I'm taking care of her. And it was so hard for me to listen to him. And I was like, Dad, don't put your stuff off because of me. And he said, no, they keep acting like I'm a normal 83-year-old man. I'm not. I'm a healthy 83-year-old man. He said, you've always taken care of me. Always taken care of everybody. It's your turn. Just let us take care of you. So that has been hard, but it's also been a blessing. But to watch that man sit there and watch my daughter sit there, both my daughters, and go, I feel helpless. What can I do? There's nothing you can do. I wish there was something I could do, but there's just not, right? And when we love people and they go through stuff, I mean, I've been through it with people that I care about when they've gone through health issues, you do feel helpless. But here's the thing, none of us are really helpless. And let me put that out there to you. Like I tell my dad all the time, you're not helpless, you are helping. You're making sure I eat. Y'all are making sure like I'm a child that every 2 hours I'm taking my damn meds. They have me writing them down on a checklist so I don't screw anything up because I'm on like 25 different medications, the most medications I've ever been on in my entire life. They have me all making sure that I'm on schedule and I'm on time and I'm eating, even if I don't feel like it. I'm drinking enough water and we're measuring all of that. Like there's so much that they're not helpless. They think they are. So I want you guys to check yourselves when you feel like you're helpless. No, you're not. It's those little things that add up to really big things. Because I don't know how anyone does this on their own. Like I feel so bad for people who don't have family like I do around that have to do it on their own, and some people are in hospice because of it, right? Like, I don't know how you would do this on your own. I can't manage my meds on my own. I couldn't even make sense of the schedule with this many meds and how often they want me to take them. Like Brindy, it took her like 6 hours to create a med chart and a schedule for me so that everything was spread properly. And that's someone who doesn't have cancer. Like my brain couldn't do it. And then the same thing with the food and the same thing with making my appointments. And my palliative care team is doing a lot of that stuff for me to make sure that everything's getting followed up on. But I don't know how you would do it alone. I honestly do not. I am feeling very grateful, and nobody in my life at this point do I think should feel anywhere helpless, because y'all have helped me so much. You have no idea. Those of you who are at a distance from me, those of you who I haven't been close to, haven't heard from in years, that have popped back up into my life, like you have been such a blessing to me. And I want you to know, not a moment goes by that I don't appreciate that. And prayers go up, and I've asked God, like, multiply their blessings 100-fold, multiply them. We all get to be blessed in whatever way that the universe decides to see fit. And God has blessed me greatly throughout my life. And it is a big lesson for me to be on the receiving end of all of this. It's very humbling and it's very difficult, but it's getting easier. So I'm getting better at it. I'm learning the lesson. I love you guys too. That's why I think just sending prayers and visualizing you in a healing energy is what we can do collectively. Anytime we picture the outcome that we want, if y'all just picture me, right? Like 6 months from now, a year from now, doing the crazy stuff that I like to do, like ice skating and riding horses and, paddle boarding, like picture that. Because I missed the whole summer this summer, but that's some of the best things that you can do for someone who's not well or someone who's struggling through anything. Like picture them beyond it. Just keep picturing me beyond it. Stay angry. What do you mean, Cardamancy? Stay angry. Anger can be a motivating factor, but I'm in touch with all of my emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly right now. You're welcome, Andrea. So that's all I have for you. I wanted to pop on and let y'all know I am alive. I am okay. That was a scary one yesterday. It's just frustrating to have to get called back and told, go to the ER. You have to go to the ER. And I'm like, what are they going to do in the ER that they haven't already done? Oh, they're going to do the same stuff. Non-compliant. Cardomancy's saying stay non-compliant. Yeah, no. I am questioning everything that they're doing to me. I don't want to be a human pincushion or a science lab project for anybody. If it's not necessary, we're not going to do it. If it's absolutely necessary and it's going to bring about my healing, we will do it. But things like biopsies for no apparent reason other than to break the bone, no. That's like exploratory. No, not going to go there. My prayers for you always include a visual of you vibrant. Return to good health, laughing with your family. I love that. Thank you, Miss Carla. Well, here's the great part. Andrea is saying summer's not over. Picture you in the hot tub. So here's the greatest part. Summer in Texas is not the best time of year. In fact, it's the worst time of year here because it is like the humidity just came on this week and it's late. We're like a month behind on humidity, maybe a month and a half. But it just came on this week and it's stifling. So this is the worst part of the year. By the time I'm well, the weather will be perfect so that I can go do the things that I want to do and not be sweating my buns off. You're amazing and beautiful. We love you so much. I love you too. I hope this is helping some of you. I hope whether you're just Facebook stalking me, YouTube stalking me, you don't know me, you do know me, you're going through it, you're not going through it, you're learning something, right? You're learning how to be resilient and you're learning how to take on challenges in life in a different way. That's my biggest hope through all of this, but also to educate us and educate people to the power that you actually do hold. The medical system is broken. People within the medical system will tell you the medical system is broken. And their standard operating procedures don't always work. And complementary medicine is coming more and more on board. But we have to be willing to do this crazy thing like I did with my oncologist the first day I met her and said, look, I will do this with you, but I want to do complementary as well. Are you on board? And I said, because if you're not, we may need to find a different solution. And she said, I'm on board, but you have to work within making sure that my drugs actually have a chance to work. I said, no, I completely understand. I'm not going to do anything to make it so that the chemo doesn't work, but give me the schedule. Tell me when I can and when I can't. And then coordinate that with the complementary oncologist. And those things do exist. I just told that lady yesterday, the 18-month survivor of breast cancer, because her biggest fear is that it's going to come back. Like, go look up complementary oncology. There's a place in Houston, and they do off-label, and they do natural stuff too. So I can't wait for that appointment. I'm super excited for that appointment, but I'm not going to be able to do any of it until after round 2 because now we're too close to round 2. Like, I think I have another week off. Yeah, I have one more week off past this week. And then chemo starts again. So then I have like 5 to 7 days where I can't do anything. And then by the next one, then I can do it. So I can meet with them, but I can't do any of the treatments until after round 2. So I'm also learning sometimes how we want to do things isn't always the way we're going to get things done. God, isn't that the truth? Yeah. Well, and you know what? Sometimes our belief systems have to give. You know, I love my family enough that when I was in the ER and the diagnosis came down and how seriously it was, stage 4, there's no stage 5. You know, you're given a diagnosis, stage 4, aggressive cancer. You got to make some decisions and you got to do it pretty quickly. And I had to pivot on my beliefs. So my family was sitting there chewing their fingernails going, is she going to do it? Is she not? They really didn't think I was. And they all thanked me for being willing to put myself through this. I'm like, don't thank me. You know, I love you and I love my life. Like, I'm not here to sacrifice my life on some belief system. It's just, I don't ever want to do this to myself. If it was a different kind of cancer, I may not have gone this route, but because lymphoma is one of the fastest curable cancers and responds the best to chemotherapy, to me, it was a no-brainer. But if it was a different kind of cancer, would I have made the same decision? Maybe not, right? Maybe not. And the fact that they told me no surgery, no radiation, which was my other requirements, that was the seal for me. And I'm like, all right, then we've got a deal. Because if you're going to tell me chemo, radiation, and surgery, deal's off. Because I'll be dead anyways. Like, just keep me comfortable and let me live my life out if that's the route we're going to go. Because radiation is harsh when combined with chemotherapy. Like, if you look at the numbers, the mortality rates, and I do tend to look at that stuff, it's not great. For some people, it's absolute necessity. For me, it's not. So that's also why I made that decision. And then everything just unfolded super quick, probably because Spirit knew if it took too long, I was going to back out. Because God knows I thought about, like, what have I done? Like, oh my God. But yeah. So this afternoon's been a good day. Still hurts. The minute I stand up from this live, I know I'm going to have to run straight to the bathroom and pee 3 drops, only to feel like razor blades are cutting me for no apparent reason. But it was part of it right now. Like, it's just part of what I got to do. And hopefully by tomorrow they will have a plan, or maybe some better drugs to numb my pain, because this just sucks right now. It just sucks. You are living proof. God is so good. God is in all of us and is there for all of us. And God is so good as long as we're willing to let God play a part in our lives. All right. Most important thing I can say to you, like, God to me is always life force energy, will always love us, will always support us, but can do nothing if we don't allow it. And we have to be willing to allow God's presence in our life to be seen and to be felt, and then to be expressed as us. Like, God's in me as much as God's in you. And I hope that that comes through in everything that I'm doing, always, but especially now, right? Not going down without a fight. And as far as a fight goes, this isn't one where it's like I'm doing it with hatred. I'm doing it with love, and I'm hoping that however I come through this, that I can help many people on the other side of this when I'm strong again, because I'll understand it from the traditional standpoint, where I've only ever done it naturally, right? So much different. This is so different than any other ride I've done, because I didn't have to be on a bunch of pills. Yeah, I had to be on supplements, and I had to do different treatments constantly, colon therapy and ozone therapy and, all of that, but not like this. Like, this is insane. And now I'm doubling it up. Now I'm going traditional plus going natural, which is costly. I was telling my daughter the other day, I was like, if the fundraiser isn't going to do anything, I'm going to have to start taking on some new clients or doing something, because I'm not willing to not do the complimentary stuff. But that's $300 a month just for the doctor. And then all of the treatments are about $200 to $250 per treatment. So we have to figure that end of it out as well. But that's also why we have the fundraiser ongoing. And then my dad was just like, I'll put it on my credit card. Like, we'll do whatever we got to do. I mean, at this point, if I got to sell my car, I'll sell my car, and deal with it later. Right. Like, to me, everything's negotiable at this point. Health has to be number one. 1 minute at a time. Absolutely. Yeah. So you guys have a good one. For those of you in Hidden Wisdom, I will see you tomorrow for our monthly coaching. Thank you for being flexible on chemo day 1. I could not have done from the hospital. So thank you for giving me a week to get to this place so that we can do our monthly coaching. And then, of course, on the 1st, I'll do the monthly forecast. If you want to join us in Hidden Wisdom, it's a monthly membership, $40 a month. I do a monthly forecast. We do monthly coaching. You have a bunch of classes available to you, on demand, and discussions and community, and a lot of good stuff in there. Feel free to go to my website, go to classes, and enroll in Hidden Wisdom. It's an ongoing monthly membership. And then if you're really ready to transform your life so that you can take life on in a magical way, come join us in Charm Life. Have a conversation with me, because that's still ongoing. I love Charm Life. It is how I walk my life every day, through the good and the bad, the hard times, the blessing times. Like, there's magic in every step, because I allow it, and because I trained myself to live that path and not the pessimistic, cynical path. But it took a while to get there. It took years for me to get there. And I have a system that gets everybody there if you do the work. So welcome. You're welcome to come have a conversation with me about that too. So, all right, that's it. I'm going to go watch some Heartland, probably take a shower or a bath or something now that I have my waterproof cuff, and call it a night. I made it through the day at 6:30 here. I have pills to take, and it's the end of another day. I made it through, and I did it without crumbling. So that's a good day. Andrew is saying, I love Charm Life. It's an amazing space. It makes you grow, really makes you grow. So yeah. All right, you guys, I will see you later. Be blessed. and be a blessing. Thanks for